What's up, dudes? I'm gonna talk about a mountain bike build I did recently. I bought this bike used for £10 off Gumtree, and it's a giant Hollywood from 1995, and it's got a cool purple paint job, and it's made from high tensile steel, which isn't that great. Well, actually, I don't know. In fact, I don't really know anything about anything, but here I am making this video. So yeah, let's look at the bike. It had Regida rims, which I thought looked pretty nice. Kenda tires, 1.95, I think. Um, Plastic cantilever brakes, really squeaky actually, so squeaky. It was really hard to ride this bike when I just got it. Plastic brake levers, and these grips were like sandpaper or something, really hard to ride for a long time. It burned the skin on my hands. And the bike's a 3x6, and the 6-speed shifter is a little bit broken. So yeah, it's a 18-inch frame with a nice step through, which is cool. It's gonna be a real nice cruisy little chill machine. So yeah, this is the stem and bars, rusty as hell, got a crazy patina on them, and it was real squirrely, like couldn't really maintain a straight direction. But I think that's just the way it is with these old bikes. Um, yeah, that's the nasty grips. We weren't super into this logo at first, but the whole thing has kind of grown on me. I thought the paint job was sick from the get-go, but I just love it even more now. Um, So it's got one bottle mount, and yeah, high tensile BG cycles in a Boyne. So I think this bike was from there. This crazy fat padded super cushion seat. It sucks. With a pretty nasty seat post. But yeah, I love this wheel thing for the canty brakes. So I was thinking about converting it to V brakes, but then I don't like the idea of having an unused part on the bike, especially one that's so interesting and it's so mechanically simple but beautiful. And I really wanted to keep that wheel, so decided to keep cantilever brakes. Back rim, Regida as well. I like the blue and yellow sticker. Again, no idea how good it is. So yeah, that's the rear derailleur, the Shimano SIS system. Gonna keep that because we're keeping the 3x6 for this bike. It's got a dork disc, a little bit of plastic there. But yeah, I really wanted to do lots of cool things with this bike, but had a budget and hit the end of that budget pretty quickly. So here's the shifters. You can really see the dust in the light when I got it outside my shed. Just so grimy and sticky and fluffy. There's the 6-speed again. I really had to clean this bike pretty thoroughly. So yeah, just getting the back wheel off here. The whole thing, I guess, was an experiment from the start. I haven't done much work with bikes. I built a little dirt jumper when I was a teenager, but that was over 10 years ago. But yeah, I didn't have a maintenance stand. I realized I had most of the tools actually. I picked them up a long time ago and forgot about them. And then when I wanted to get these bikes, I realized, wait, I've got all these tools. And that's what made me want to try this myself and put the work in. And I have to say I've learned a lot, and I'm really inspired by the wider bike rebuilding and bike riding community that's out there. It's really been a major source of happiness. And this video kind of happened over this period of a month where I got more and more equipment and I knew more about how to go about the whole process. Yep, just taking off the plastic brakes here. Yeah, you can see they're covered in nasty stuff. It was pretty gross, and sometimes I couldn't handle it. But yeah, you'll see it's pretty cool how we progress through this video. I get like the stand, and I get all the more bits and pieces, and I get a bit more able to do the task. So yeah, taking the cranks off. Fortunately, this went well. There's another bike where I accidentally stripped the crank removal threads, but this one was a nice, smooth, and easy process for the most part. Although I did get the front part of the tool and the back part of the tool confused, the part that you screw into the crank threads, and I was cranking down on that part really hard, wondering why the crank set wasn't coming off, and then I realized I was, yeah, totally cranking my wrench on the wrong part of the tool, which I cut that bit out. Maybe I should have shown that. I guess it's good to own up to your mistakes, but this is me. I figured it out, and I'm supposed to tighten the second part of the tool, and it just came right off. Super grimy. Yeah, taking off the front mech, I actually rounded the bolt that holds the cable in, and I couldn't get the old cable out at all, so that's just sitting straight in the parts bin. Maybe it'll be recovered one day for another bike, but I got another front mech off another bike that'll do the job just fine. Here, just taking off the grips and shifters and the brake levers. I used a lot of WD-40 to get the nasty sandpaper uncomfortable grips off the handlebars. That was fine. I didn't want to cut them off because I actually didn't know that they were super uncomfortable at this point, and I wanted to use them for another bike so I could ride that one around rather than buy new grips. And yeah, I went for a 2.5 hour bike ride and came home with blisters, my hands like red, raw, and whenever I picked up anything else that day, it like kind of stung. But I ride enough bikes to know that that's not normally what happens to my hands. So yeah, I foolishly took the handlebars off before I took the stem off, but that was okay. The stem did just come straight out, which was good news. Nothing was actually that corroded on this bike. It all came out when I needed it to. Nothing was too stuck. Although I did leave the headset, not because it was stuck, but because it spun really nice, it sounded okay, and I don't have a magnet yet in case all the bearings fall out, so I just thought, like, better leave it because it's working. So I spent a lot of time polishing up these wheels. I did actually get in the freewheel with the nylon brush, and yeah, everything cleaned up real nice. And I spent ages cleaning the spokes with tin foil, and then kind of like a kitchen like rough pad like from a sponge, and that really got the kind of grime off the spokes really nicely. And after I was done, the wheels really did sparkle, and that was just with soap and water. So pretty stoked with that. That was real simple. Just had to put in the time. That's all. Yeah, so I'm not very systematic when I do things. So I kind of forgot that I could work one spoke at a time, and I do tend to jump from one side of the wheel to the other, and then I like not really know where I was at all. But that's just the way I do things, I guess. There they are, nice and clean. So change tires, put on some Schwalbe Billy Bonkers, And then I decided to clean up the parts that I was going to keep. The little wheel for the canty brakes, its axle was really rusty, and then the front mech from the other bike really needed a scrub. Put this in the bottom of the sink. Because it's so fine, it actually catches the grease, and then of course none of the small parts will wash down the sink. I love it when the soap makes that sound. So yeah, just washing it with some dishwashing soap and warm water and the nylon brush and a bit of steel brush where appropriate. I learned the hard way when I scratched up one of the hubs on the wheels, took all the paint off it, that the steel brush can't be used for everything. But yeah, nice and shiny, although it's a bit like corroded. So I decided what I would do next is put everything in the a vapor rust and see how they came out. Some of it didn't really need it, but I just wanted to see how it worked because I never used the stuff before. And I really liked how it's not toxic. So I got this Dior crankset by Shimano for the bike, and it's kind of like this gross gray, not very shiny silver color, and I didn't really like it. So I decided I was gonna polish it, but I didn't have any budget left and I didn't have that much sandpaper. So basically I started with 120 grit and then went on to 400 and then 600 grit. And then I polished them with Silvo and a cloth. And they turned out quite good. A bit of a brushed, so to say, finish. You could see earlier that I'd already done one of the cranks, so for the comparison, yeah, I'm really happy with how they came out. And I don't really care if you think I ruined them by getting the logos off and stuff, because I think they match the rest of the parts that we chose for this bike because we went for shiny silver kind of chrome stuff. I like chrome parts on bikes. So yeah, just getting the stuff out, and I accidentally wasted quite a lot of it and poured it down the sink by accident there. Giving them a rinse off, and then I sprayed them with WD-40. Yeah, here we are cleaning some sticky stuff off the frame here, and then I polished all the paint. I used T-cut, and that was turned out pretty good. The frame and the paintwork really popped after giving it a real good polish. Oh yeah, forgot to take that thing off. But yeah, cleaning the nasty stuff off the bottom of the bike there. And then WD-40 and nylon brush to clean out the bottom brackets shell. It wasn't too bad actually. Cleaning the steer tube. Used the steel brush this time. The frame wasn't that rusty inside, which was nice. I got my brush stuck here. And I couldn't get it out. I got my screwdriver and I tapped it with a hammer. And that worked. So I switched to a regular toothbrush to finish the steer tube. And that fit in there a bit better. But I thought I'd like stuff some kitchen roll in there as well, just to really dry it out, clean it off, wipe it down, you know. Same for the seat tube. I noticed when I was going through the footage, I seem to really like looking inside the tubes like they're telescopes. They look pretty cool inside, I guess. There we go. What do you see down there? I can see the ocean. So I suck at greasing things. I always use too much. I'm gonna blame my grease gun. I just used the Halfords one, and it keeps going after you finish squeezing. Maybe I'm just not finessed enough, but I got grease everywhere and way too much grease on anything I was supposed to even put grease on. It was just, yeah. Here we go, polishing the frame with the T-cut. It actually worked super good. As I said, this paint job on this bike, on this frame, just sparkled so nice after I was finished. Um, I just love it so much. The purple was really popping. It was almost like it was new, except from all the scratches and the rust. But I'm not in it for a new bike. I wanted a bike with a story to tell. So yeah, as I said earlier, I really don't know what I'm doing. This is my first time with anything, so if anyone has any tips, I'd be glad to hear them, or complaints. Here we are, the stem adapter. Use the Velo orange one. I was really impressed with all the components I got from Velo Orange. So I got the pretty much the entire cockpit was Velo Orange with the quill to A head stem adapter and one of their stems, and then I used the Velo Orange clunker bars. I really like the sweep back that they have on them, and some Velo Orange brake levers as well. Lots of silver. This is kind of the easy bit for me. I've changed handlebars on a lot of bikes. I guess it's something I like to do. These are sick. Really like the feel of them. I was pretty excited to finally put them on the bike because they had been sitting in a box for a few weeks before I could actually get them onto the bike. So this whole build actually took me a month. It took me a really long time to clean the parts, and I didn't film all of it because I couldn't be bothered. Maybe I would film more next time, but yeah, sometimes the work was just, and learning as you're going, the work was enough to not need to be playing around with a camera at the same time. It was a lot for my head to take in. Putting on the brake levers here and the DMR death grips. Super comfy, actually, really spongy. Total stark contrast to the nasty sandpapery ones it came with. I have no idea how the person who had the bike before me actually rode it with those grips. Oh yeah, I forgot to take off the label on the bars. I guess I just thought it was so cool. Wanted to keep looking at it. Tightening up the wheels, making sure it's straight. Actually had a bit of a difficult time figuring out how to make it straight because I took apart the axle at one point thinking there were some spacers where there shouldn't be, and I asked Reddit on the bike wrench page, and they were like, yeah, I don't, no one really knew what was going on with the wheel, but kind of rearranged the spacers and figured out they were washers for gripping the dropouts. I don't know if there's such a thing as too much grease on a bottom bracket, but I find it kind of hard to get the non-drive side in, actually. My tool kept slipping. It was barely going into the grooves for it, and I eventually kind of gave up and put a lock ring from an old bottom bracket because I couldn't get it all the way to be seated flush with the frame. So I put on that lock ring just to be safe, I guess. Just not sure if it needed it really. Grease up the taper, put on the crank arm. Okay, here we go. Setting up my first ever set of cantilever brakes. I was a bit intimidated to do this, but hey, it went okay. Pretty pleased with myself. I mean, with all the things I learned, but I'm sure I did it wrong. I'm sure I did it wrong in some way, and there's something I've missed, but yeah, the brakes break. They stopped the bike. I'm really pleased that they stopped the bike and no one's going to fall off and die. I got the Magic Components smiley face Dango Bros for cable hangers, and I used the Diacomp straddle cable, and the Diacomp straddle cable was 2 mils, which was almost a bit too big for the Dango Bro, but we got it. It worked. Putting this cool wheel thing back together. When I first got this bike, something like this looked way too complicated to me. I was just hoping I could hacksaw it off or something. And I'm really glad I persevered and learned how to understand things like that. Putting the rear derailleur back on, getting those 6 gears working. So when I was indexing the gears, it took a really long time. That's something I've never ever done before, but my camera, the card was full, and so I didn't really film it, but I don't think you'd want to watch me. I got very frustrated and there was a lot of struggling to get the tension on the cable correct and all the gears indexed properly, but in the end we got there. So yeah, just setting up the cables. Sizing up the chain. I actually went through 2 chains doing this. I got it wrong the first time, cut it too short, and there was no saving it. because I heard that you can't reuse the pins actually. Not that I had the patience to even try and get the pin back into the chain. And yep, snapping on the quick link and then putting on the DMR V6 pedals, just plastic ones. I kind of prefer plastic pedals anyway. Okay, nice one. That's the last part to put on the bike. So now we're gonna go check it out and have a little ride. That's it from me for now. So thanks for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll make some more and maybe I'll hear from you. Cheers.